Alright guys, so today I'm going to be talking about the resume that I use to get hired as a software developer in the private industry. Okay, so I've applied to a variety of different types of companies, big and small, and had a fairly good success rate for getting interviews. So, although I don't think my resume is anything special, I do think there's some things that can be learned from it. And just in general, I think it's good to look at other people's resumes when you're crafting your own to get some ideas on whether it's organization or content or different ways to do things. So let's just take a high level look at what I have going on here. First of all, basic contact info. So email, phone, GitHub, LinkedIn. If you have all these things, you can include them. That's good. Obviously, I've whited them out here, and then I've whited out my name. But in this big black block here, you want people to have your name nice in front, up in center, and then as well with your contact information, you want that very clear and organized so people can get a hold of you if they're interested. And then something I would focus here is GitHub. GitHub is something that people have asked me about time and time again. It comes up in interviews a lot. People seem to care about it. So I think it is very important to include it. But you got to be careful here because when I originally started including my GitHub, I had just a handful of projects, none of which I was actively committing to. As I graduated college, they were a year or two older. The time got away, and I wasn't actively using my GitHub, so it actually ended up being sometimes a detriment to me because people would look at my GitHub, they say, okay, well, why hasn't he coded in the past year? And whether that's true or not, whether you're just not using source control or you're using a different repository, you only want to include GitHub if you're actively committing code to it. So if you were to look at my GitHub right now, I'm actively, every couple days, if not every day, committing code to it, working on different projects, and my GitHub is expanding. So you want to include it if that's what you're doing, and if that's not what you're doing, you want to start doing that so you can include it, because like I said, a lot of companies have asked for my GitHub, and it seems to have done both good and bad for me depending on when I was using it or not. Okay, so let's move on to the education section here. Education is important. If you have had formal education in the field, you should include this in your resume, whether it's a 2-year degree, 4-year degree, even a boot camp. You want to make sure that you make it clear where you got your degree from and what your the title of the degree that you got is. And so you see here, I have a bachelor's degree, and I've included the university and the time that it took me to get it. Something that's definitely optional is your GPA. I included my GPA because I had a half-decent one. Some people will ask for your transcript. Some people will never really ask about your GPA. So, if you're not excited to show it off, then I just wouldn't include it and only bring it up if people ask. But, some people just say never include your GPA. I don't think it's a big deal if you have a half-decent one. Another thing that's very optional and something I would not include is your classes, your coursework. These courses were truthfully not anything special. They were just the upper level courses I had to take for my degree. I included these mainly just for fluff, just because they filled in space in my resume where I didn't have much else to fill. So moving forward, especially now that I have a real world job, this education section is probably going to dwindle down to, this size here, max, if not less, and I'm probably going to move that to the bottom. But it makes sense to have your education towards the top if you're in school currently and don't have too many job experience, internships, things like that. So that's the education section for you. It doesn't have to be too big. I wouldn't include high school unless you're right out of high school, self-taught or something. But I would include anything that's relevant. So next up is the relevant skills section. This section is the one that I think honestly is the most important out of all of them. I got the most amount of questions during interviews from this specific section. So I think it's important to include as much as you can without extending yourself. So you never want to undersell yourself in this section. You never want to leave out things that you know, but you don't have to also realize that you don't have to be an expert in Java to put Java down. But you got to also kind of balance that by saying, you shouldn't put Java if you've never coded a Hello World program in it. So you got to find that balance. Also, make sure you know what agile development is. To be honest, the methods of development and life cycles and things, it's really not that important to know them, because when you're doing them, you just kind of do them. It's not like you have to actively understand what the agile software development principles are. But make sure you do know them for interviews, because people seem to love to ask about it. Certain companies I've interviewed with think it's the greatest thing ever and want to make sure you understand the buzzwords. So make sure you include that and understand what it is. And then just as an improvement to this section for myself, I would put these into categories, maybe front end, back end, database, source control, miscellaneous, something like that. I need some type of further kind of delineation between these skills to give it a little bit more depth, maybe in columns or something like that. And so finally here is job experience, achievements, extracurricular activity. I'm going to try to make this video a little bit short, so I'm going to wrap this up quick. But achievements and extracurricular activity, to be honest, irrelevant. People have never given a crap about my scholarships. People never really seem to care. If you have some good scholarships, I still would include them, especially if you're coming right out of school or still in school looking for internships, just because they look good. But people don't really seem to care. They don't really translate into any type of real world skills. They don't make you a web developer. They don't make you some type of software engineer. Then extracurriculars, to be honest, no matter how much college pushes this well-rounded lifestyle and things like that, that people want you to, code and then also knit on the side. Like, people don't give a crap. People don't care. They want you to be able to program. They want you to be able to do exactly what the job description says they want you to do. So this stuff is not particularly important. What is important is job experience. Something I would change here, especially now that I have a real world job, is eliminate this kind of high school job, just keeping gas in the tank job that I had during my college career. It's not relevant and don't need to include it. And then this job here will start filter to the bottom. I'm going to start filling this up with real world experience from my current job. So those are the final three sections there. The overall resume is fairly organized and clean, I think. I don't know, it's aesthetically appealing to me, at least. Some people have crazy preferences about, the types of bullets and random stuff like that, but I would just do whatever you think fits. Don't do anything, crazy flashy. Just make sure it's organized and neat, and, don't, like I said, don't sell yourself short on your resume. You want people to look at your resume and be impressed. You want people to think you have a variety of skills and that you're adaptable. And so you also want to just show your best self on this resume. So that's just mine to take a look at. Like I said, I like looking at resumes when I was crafting mine. I still look at different resumes to this day because, a resume is kind of just a forever changing document, which is not a bad thing. So that's my resume. Like I said, I've gotten a number of interviews and eventually got hired with this resume, using this resume, sending it in applications. So it can serve as a template for you, whether it's just organization or content-wise. Just food for thought, but feel free to comment any suggestions you have for my resume, anything you guys have used that have been successful for you on your resumes. And yeah, I hope you like the video. I have said before I'm going to put out some tutorials on some web development things, and I'm still going to do that, but I want those videos to be a little bit more polished. So they are going to take a couple more weeks, and the videos of this sort I'm going to keep pumping out to kind of work on my editing skills, work on my filming skills. But yeah, I hope you like the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like what's going on and kind of want to see me grow here. And yeah, thanks for watching.